All right, guys, let's get to our next topic. It's brought to us by BetterHelp. These days, it feels like there's advice for everything. Cold plunges, gratitude journals, screen detoxes. But how do you know what actually works? With so much information online about mental health and wellness, it can be overwhelming to figure out what's true and what actually works. That's where talking to a licensed therapist through BetterHelp can make all the difference. You get real, personalized guidance instead of just guessing based on something you saw on social media. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Hey, Mike, normally
Yes.
I wouldn't interrupt, but since we talked about Beasley earlier, I just saw something from Hollinger. Just real quick, he said, according to his numbers, Washington, Charlotte, Chicago, Indiana, and Brooklyn could all pay Beasley between $13 and $15 million a year.
Well, he ain't taking a vet min then. There you go.
And Detroit could give him $7 million. So I think he's got better options.
Yeah, he's not taking a vet minimum if that's the case.
The dream is dead.
Question I was going to ask you guys,
Fun
though.
while it lasted.
48
Question I
minutes.
was going to ask you guys. We know Myles Garrett will obviously start on one end of the Browns' defensive line. He's the best defensive player in football. But we are yet to get clarity on who will be the edge opposite of Myles Garrett. There's a four-person battle, really three, but four guys kind of competing for that opposite edge rusher spot on the Browns as we enter the final week of preseason. Those four are Alex Wright, who was injured last year but got off to a promising start. Isaiah McGuire, who was a PFF darling. JTS, the former first-round pick. The Browns signed this offseason from Tampa Bay. And Cameron Thomas, a guy who's been around the league for a while, who's been a standout in camp thus far. Jason, if it was up to you, who do you think has the inside track to start opposite of Myles Garrett? And I know we said the quarterbacks may not matter in a preseason game, but are you kind of looking at those guys, these potential edge rushers on Saturday for one to separate themselves from the rest?
I don't think Saturday is going to dictate who starts and who doesn't. And it's funny because you said it, Isaiah's sort of the PFF darling. I like Alex Wright. I like watching Alex Wright get after the quarterback. But when you read things like PFF, just give off-the-chart grades for Isaiah McGuire as a run-stopping end, I guess I'll go with that. Myles is going to have the pass rush on lockdown from one side, and if you've got the middle and the other edge locked up with McGuire, I kind of want to see more of him. And he's sort of the guy that you don't pay a ton of attention to during the game. I know I don't. I've seen Alex Wright flash a lot more than I've seen McGuire flash at times. I think both of them are pretty capable, and both of them are going to play a lot. Like you need depth on that defensive line, and you need to keep rotating guys in. So I really want to watch Isaiah McGuire more this year and see what is it about him that PFF seems to love.
I'm still with Alex Wright. He was my sleeper guy last year to have a breakout season. He was. I still feel that way. I'm going to give him another chance. He's dealt with injury. It's a major disappointment that essentially for his entire career, outside of 1 year for Clowney, that Myles has not really had a quality player on the opposite end of him. I'm hoping between the combination of Wright and Thomas that, maybe you'll get that. I've always seen so much potential, as you said, flashes from Alex Wright. So he's still the guy I think most highly of. I think the others are just nothing much.
You don't like McGuire?
No, besides Wright and McGuire.
Oh, okay.
The other two guys on the list.
You kept saying Thomas.
I'm sorry.
I
don't know what I was coming.
Yes.
I meant Wright, not Thomas. Sorry.
I couldn't agree more with you guys. There's part of me. You know how PFF is dead to me, except for their opinion on
20
the Browns
minutes ago
beat.
it was alive.
Well,
Now
no, they
it's
came back to
dead.
live when they had the Browns wide receiving room at 32. They got
They
that
had
one right.
one heartbeat and then flatlined again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now they're back to Code Red. I like McGuire. I don't think he's a pig, but I don't see.
That's the nicest thing you can say.
No, I like him more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think he's not a good player, but I don't see the guy they see.
Yeah.
And I keep wondering, do they take bribes?
I think
do they take payoffs?
I think that they just ask him to do different things. And Myles flashes, obviously, because
of course
the physical specimen that he is. Defensive ends flash when they're in the backfield.
Yes.
They don't flash when they're corralling running backs at the line of scrimmage.
I know. So for me, I still think that Alex Wright has more upside. I kept watching last year saying, okay, let me squint and see if I can see this superstar in Isaiah McGuire that PFF sees. You know how when there's a overwhelming opinion on someone and it disagrees with yours, you start saying, well, I must be wrong. I have to be wrong on this.
I think everyone else is idiots when that.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't
would
ever
know
think I'm
that too.
There are a lot of idiots out
See
there.
Baker Mayfield. But honestly, I keep looking at him going, well, God, that was just an average play to me. He didn't jump off the chart where I've got to give him this ridiculous grade. Some of his grades last year, I thought that they were grading the wrong player. I thought they were watching McGuire and they were actually watching Myles Garrett, and they got confused. But you're right, Bull. It's almost a sin that Myles Garrett hasn't had the luxury in Cleveland what TJ Watt has in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And what so many other guys across the league that have made a career of stockpiling sacks. To me, what Myles Garrett has done is even more impressive. He's done it alone. He hasn't had that wingman, except for Clowney, who I think had 10 sacks that year.
I think that's the only guy that's ever had double-digit sacks.
That was it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Alex Wright. I'm still open to the idea that my eyes are blurry when I'm looking at McGuire and I'm not seeing what I'm supposed to be seeing or what PFF is seeing. So maybe I'm holding out hope that maybe he can be the guy. But I like this question, and here's why. Here's my takeaway from this. He may not have a superstar on the line with him, but when you take all of the pieces on the defensive front for the Cleveland Browns, it's possible. I'm not saying that we're there yet. This could be the best defensive front that he's had to work with. When you talk about Mason Graham as a first-round draft pick, Mike Hall is a guy who flashed big time last year. We're talking about, is it McGuire or Wright? Well, there's four guys.
Yeah, well,
they haven't had that kind of depth.
Yeah, I mean, this is, 4 or 5 years ago, was it, when they brought in Dalvin Tomlinson, and they had some veterans at defensive tackle, like good veterans.
But
they
they
were
really
not
didn't
bad.
pan out.
Well, Dalvin Tomlinson was decent.
He's okay.
Especially his first year. But most defensive tackles are not going to get a lot of sacks, right? Like, we're not expecting a ton of sacks from Mason Graham. But, yes, this is the first time that they've had two highly drafted defensive tackles that seem to have a lot of potential. Everybody seems to think Mason Graham is a no-brainer, that he's going to be really good. And a lot of that's going to be stuff, to some degree, like McGuire. Obviously, he's way more talented, that we're not going to necessarily stand out because they're not going to be sacks.
Yeah.
But Graham especially has the chance to be a guy that, for once, that the offensive line has to worry about besides Myles Garrett. That
I agree.
That you may have to double team him some. Ultimately, you're going to double team Myles Garrett more than anybody else. But if Mason Graham could pull 10% of the double teams off Myles Garrett, what a difference that can make.
Yeah. We're going to do this topic, I imagine, next week, but I'll just touch on it briefly here. At some point, we always do who's under the most pressure this year.
Yeah.
We will for sure do that.
I know we'll do that. But I will quickly throw out, I think Jim Schwartz is under a lot of pressure this year. A lot of pressure. And here's why. We looked, coming into the draft, we're like, well, God, your first 5 picks have to be offense. I mean, the cupboard is bare.
Yeah.
And somehow he pulls enough weight in this organization that he gets them to trade away the pick that would have most likely been a two-way player, but would have helped him on defense as well, so we could go get a defensive player in Mason Graham. That is a loud voice in that room, that he was able to do that, because you, me, and everybody that follows this stuff said, oh, it's going to be an offensive draft for the Browns.
Yeah. Well, not just that. I mean, then they took Schlesinger at the 33rd pick. So
exactly.
2 of the top 33
so
picks.
So Jim Schwartz, this is what you need. Yeah. You got it. What else do you need? A linebacker? You got it. Now go win.
Yeah, well,
go be better than you were last year.
I mean, not just last year. I mean, the defense did not play well at the end of the 23 season, including the playoffs.
No, especially
and then
Houston.
They were at best mediocre.
So his star, to me, his star has a red arrow next to it, going the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think he's under a lot of pressure this year, and I think a lot of it, based on how this plays out, is going to be determined by how the defensive front plays as a group.
To the point you made earlier about the defensive line, it's always been patchwork veterans, it feels like, around Myles.
Now they got kids.
They've got youth and high potential youth. When you talk about Mason Graham, Mason could be to Myles what Cam Hayward is to
that's the hope.
TJ Watt.
Yeah, let's hope.
And Mike Hall, another young guy. I mean, McGuire and Wright are by no means old.
No.
Yeah, right. They're
So
young.
They're closer to young.
And Myles is still in the prime. So you've got a young unit that could really grow together, hopefully, ideally. I think the defensive line will be the strength of this team for years to come. It could be. It should be.
It sets up that way.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you have a number 1 overall pick, a number 5 overall pick,
Yeah.
I don't care what else you've got
Yeah.
on that
Right.
line.
You
That's
better
got to be the strength.
You better produce.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure on that defense. this
And
year.
not to mention, if Mason becomes what everyone hopes that he can be with Myles, how much does that elevate Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright? and
Right.
Mike
It's
Hall?
going to make things way
Everybody's
easier.
job
much
gets
easier.
easier if you add
Yeah, yeah,
another
yeah.
stalwart.
Suddenly
to that
they look
unit.
a lot better than maybe they are just because of who they're playing next.
Right.
time.
Last thing I'll ask on this, and we'll move on. But none of you guys mentioned JTS as your answer. You guys all went with Wright or McGuire. JTS was the highest drafted of the three, former first-round pick. Never lived up to his potential in Tampa Bay, but he has the most athletic traits, I think is the right way to phrase it. The size, the speed, the strength that you would want.
There's
in
a
an
lot
edge
to
rusher.
like there.
Are you guys anticipating him having any impact for the Browns this year? Or do you think he'll end up being buried on the depth chart and not really having
No, I think he'll. I mean, he'll be there. They're probably their fourth end, and you're going to rotate a lot.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
I think
I
he will
expect
have
him to
an
play
impact.
a role, not a
Yeah.
not a huge role, but a role certainly.
I agree.
And he has a chance. Listen, all these guys, every defensive end on this team has a chance
Yeah.
to fight for that number 2 spot because nobody has established themselves there. So even though we may like Alex Wright or Isaiah McGuire, finally got both of their names right, it's really wide open. Anybody that's going to make plays is going to get more of an opportunity. So he has an opportunity here. Make some plays.
Agreed.
He does it, he'll get more playing time.